So welcome to Jumbo IS and welcome to our lecture series called Daily News in Shorts. In this lecture series, we cover a particular day's current affairs in a short span of time. Now, needless to say this, you have to revise this lecture just after watching it, because if you'll only watch this lecture, these current affairs that we are about to discuss would quickly skip your memory. So you have to solidify these current affairs in your memory, and you can do that by revising it from the notes provided by us. These notes are shared on our Telegram channel, and the link to our Telegram channel is provided in the comment section just below this video. So please do not forget to revise the lecture. Okay? Alright then. Enough of the introduction. Let's straight away jump into the lecture. So let's begin. So daily current affairs. Okay, 24th of November, Monday. And here is the list of topics. Now, number one topic is Chandigarh's inclusion in Article 240. Well, central government made certain announcements and Punjab state government is not happy with the inclusion of Chandigarh, which is the capital of Punjab and Haryana, in Article 240. They're not happy. So we'll take a look at this particular news item, which is very important. Then we'll talk about juvenile justice system, because recently India Justice Report was released, and in that report they said that India's juvenile justice system is not working properly. So we'll talk about this. Then we'll talk about Bharat NCAP 2.0. Bharat NCAP 1.0 was released in 2023, and now the second version is about to be released. So we will talk about NCAP, okay, which is for car safety, vehicle safety. Then we'll talk about Saturn's rings, because very soon Saturn's rings are going to disappear. Now, this disappearance would be for short term only, but why is this phenomena there? Why does it occur? What happens? What are the reasons behind this optical illusion? We'll talk about this. And in the end, we'll talk about a very important scientific study, which is the survival of moss plants in outer space. Okay, so we'll talk about this experiment as well. So these are the 5 news items. Topic number 1 is related to polity portion of your UPSC syllabus. Topic number 2, again related to polity portion of your UPSC syllabus. Topic number 3 is related to policy and governance portion of your UPSC syllabus. Topic number 4 is science and technology, and topic number 5 is also science and technology portion of your UPSC syllabus. Okay, so let's discuss these 5 topics one by one, starting with topic number 1, and that is Chandigarh's inclusion in Article 240. Now, let's talk about Chandigarh. Okay, so Chandigarh is basically joint capital of Punjab and Haryana. The reason is that when India got independence and Pakistan was separated out of it, well, Punjab's capital was Lahore, but Lahore went to Pakistan. So we had to create a new capital for the state of Punjab, which is in India. Now remember, back in 1947 and until 1966, Haryana was also part of Punjab. It was a bigger Punjab. Okay. Now until 1966, well, we created Chandigarh, the new capital of Punjab. But in 1966, Haryana was created out of Punjab, separated out of Punjab. Now, what would happen to Chandigarh? Well, Chandigarh was made the joint capital of both Punjab and Haryana. Now, people from Punjab have been long asking for Chandigarh. Currently, Chandigarh is a union territory which also serves as joint capital of Punjab and Haryana. But Punjab is asking for Chandigarh to be the sole capital of Punjab, and Haryana should create its own capital. Okay. Plus, Chandigarh shouldn't be a union territory. It belongs to Punjab. That is the demand of Punjab. And series of agreements have been signed with central government for this only. But Chandigarh's status remained unchanged. But recently, well, central government has indicated that they would introduce a constitutional amendment bill through which Chandigarh's status as a union territory would get further solidified. It would completely come under president's control. Now, Punjab government is not happy with this. They are saying that instead of bringing Chandigarh back to Punjab, you are further solidifying its UT status by bringing it in Article 240. This is basically, well, not following the promise that you made to us, violating the promise that you made to us. That's what Punjab is saying. So what is this entire issue and what constitutional articles are related to this? Let's talk about this, okay? Okay, it's a controversial issue. So Chandigarh's inclusion in Article 240. So what was in the news? So Constitution 131st Amendment Bill 2025 regarding Chandigarh's status has sparked controversy, especially with opposition from Punjab. Currently, Chandigarh is a UT and the shared capital of Punjab and Haryana. And, well, as a UT, every UT has an administrator. Punjab's governor acts as the administrator of Chandigarh. Okay, so governor of Punjab presently holds additional charge as UT's administrator. So governor of Punjab only has this option of being the administrator of UT. An administrator is, well, the king of a UT, which is and basically agent of the president, central government. Nonetheless, we all know about these things. But this status of being the administrator of Chandigarh UT, well, this status is only reserved for governor of Punjab. Okay, but what is the center proposing to do? Now, this is 131st Amendment. Now, Centre considered introducing the constitutional bill to bring Chandigarh under Article 240 of the Constitution. Now, what is Article 240 of the Constitution? You should know this, that there are certain UTs which have their own legislative assembly, their own chief minister, okay? They have their own thing. But there are certain UTs which don't have their own legislative assembly, chief minister, nothing. They are directly administered by the president and president's agent, which is the lieutenant governor. Yes. Now, as per Article 240, supreme power is accorded to the president in regulating the affairs of all UTs except Chandigarh, National Capital Territory and Puducherry. NCT and Puducherry have their own legislative assembly. But under Article 240, except these three UTs, well, president is the sole authority over administration as well as laws in the UT. President is the sole authority. But NCT, Puducherry were kept out of it. Why? For a very simple reason, they have their own legislative assembly. And why Chandigarh was kept out of it? Well, because of the controversy. Because Punjab is demanding Chandigarh back to the state government. So, except these three states, well, president, in all the other UTs, president has complete power. Centre has complete power. Under 131st Constitutional Amendment Bill, well, Chandigarh won't be in this club of NCT and Puducherry and would be included in those UTs of Article 240, which will be directly administered by the president. Article 240 empowers the president to make regulation for certain UTs, except these three, including the powers to override existing laws. So if Parliament has made a law, president can repeal that law, amend that law, no questions asked. This would happen to Chandigarh after 131st Amendment. Okay, this is the thing. So Punjab is protesting against this because that means Chandigarh would be further put under central control and Punjab's dream of bringing Chandigarh back to state government's control would get further away. That's what they are saying. If enacted, the amendment would enable Chandigarh to have an independent administrator like LG, removing it from Punjab's governor charge. Okay, so Punjab governor would no longer have the authority to be the administrator. Okay, now certain facts about Chandigarh. We have talked about this. This is, by the way, the symbol of Chandigarh, and Chandigarh is also known as the city beautiful because it's neatly made, planned city, everything. Now here's the thing. Well, Lahore was the capital of Punjab, but Lahore was in Pakistan, so we had to create a new city. Chandigarh was that new city. It was planned. Lee Corbusier was its architect, properly planned, very nice, everything was great. And it served as the capital of United Punjab until 1966 and joint capital of Punjab and Haryana after 1966 when Haryana was formed. Okay. Now, special privilege was given to Punjab. First of all, Governor of Punjab would act as the administrator, plus all the officers for Chandigarh, well, they would be shared between Punjab and Haryana. 60% officers would come from Punjab, 40% officers would come from Haryana. Okay. This was the system. But Punjab has been long asking for sole authority over Chandigarh. In fact, various agreements have been signed, especially Rajiv Gandhi Longowal Accord between Centre and Punjab government. Rajiv Longowal Accord signed in 1985. Various points were there in this accord, but one such point was giving Chandigarh to Punjab. Nonetheless, nothing happened on the Chandigarh issue. And now Punjab is saying you are further bringing it into Centre's control. Okay, that's what Punjab's opposition is all about. Okay, Punjab sees Chandigarh as its undisputed territory, citing the creation by acquiring Punjab's villages and its historical significance. Punjab has long asserted its historical claim over Chandigarh, as the city was originally planned and built to be the capital of post-partition Punjab. Okay, plus Here is Rajiv Longowal Accord, which also promised transfer of Chandigarh to Punjab. So this is the controversy, Punjab government versus the central government. But through this, you are able to understand Article 240 and the status of UTs. Okay, so remember this part. Now, let's quickly shift our focus to next news item, and that is juvenile justice system. Now look very carefully. Our criminal justice system is divided into two parts. Okay, all the criminal laws apply on adults. And what is the definition of adults? Well, anyone above the age of 18 or above. All the criminal laws that we see for murder, for theft, for robbery, for anything, all criminal laws apply to adults. But what if a crime is committed by a child? Now, what is the definition of a child? Anyone below the age of 18. What if a crime is committed by a child? Now, for that, we have a different criminal justice system, and that is known as juvenile justice system. Because internationally, it has been agreed that a child, a person who is less than the age of 18, has not formed or does not have full capacity, full intellectual capacity and physical capacity. Okay, so they should be treated differently. They have not developed their reasoning properly, so they should be treated differently. And one assumption should be made that the crime committed by this child is done by mistake. But you have to punish the crime. So there is a different system for punishing children who have committed crimes. Okay, this is known as juvenile justice system. Now, juvenile justice system's purpose is to rehabilitate, not punish. Children have committed these crimes because of a mistake, lack of proper intellectual development, or many other reasons. So the purpose is to rehabilitate these children so that after their light punishment, they can integrate with the society once they become an adult. That's the purpose of juvenile justice system. Okay, but a recent report has found out that this juvenile justice system is not working properly. It has many issues. And this is really bad if we really want to protect child rights as well as criminal justice system. Okay, so let's talk about this entire thing. Okay, so juvenile justice system. So what was in the news? Nearly a decade after Juvenile Justice Care and Protection of Children Act 2015 was enacted to create a child-friendly approach to adjudicate and rehabilitate, a new study suggests that the system is struggling to meet its statutory mandates. What was mentioned in the law is not being followed properly. The system is not working. And this was mentioned in India Justice Report. The title of the report was Juvenile Justice and Children in Conflict with the Law, a study of capacity at the front lines, paints the above mentioned picture. Now, first you need to know about Juvenile Justice Act. Okay, so this is the Juvenile Justice Act, JJ Act. So Juvenile Justice Act 2015 basically replaced a previous Juvenile Justice Act of 1968. Okay, it mandates a child-friendly approach to, we have discussed this. Now, under this Juvenile Justice Act, if a child has committed a crime, well, that case will be heard by a special court known as Juvenile Justice Boards. It mandates the creation of JJBs for children in conflict with the law and child welfare committees for children in need for protection in every district. Okay, this is the mandate. Then, the law requires all childcare institutions to be registered for transparency and accountability. And remember, I told you that this new 2015 law replaced a previous juvenile justice law. Okay, in the previous juvenile justice law, what happened was that if a heinous crime like rape, murder is committed by someone who is 17 years of age, well, he was treated as a juvenile and, well, the punishment was really soft, despite the fact that the crime committed by that person, that 17-year-old, is really bad. So for really bad crimes, okay, heinous crimes, rape, murder, and crimes against humanity, heinous crimes, it was said that children in this age bracket, 16 to 18, will be tried as adults. So no separate juvenile justice system, they will be tried as adults. Okay, the case would be heard by Juvenile Justice Board, and Juvenile Justice Board will determine whether this 16 to 18-year-old should be treated as an adult for this heinous crime. But this provision was added in this law. For heinous offences, a preliminary assessment can determine if a child between this age bracket can be tried as an adult in children's court, just to check whether he is mentally sound or not. Okay, so these were some of the changes, and these are some of the key provisions of Juvenile Justice Act. Now, what are the shortcomings of this system as per Indian Justice Report? Okay, So, IJR key findings. First of all, lack of coverage. Over 50,000 children were awaiting justice as of October 31st. So, well, 50,000 children. Well, they were not tried. They are awaiting justice. They are under trials. Tendency of cases. 55% of the cases remain pending. And there is this one maxim. Justice delayed is justice denied. You shouldn't delay justice. Finish the cases very quickly. Delays cause children to suffer similar consequences as adult under trials, same as adults whose cases are prolonged. Children also suffer the same problem. Okay, this is bad. And then there are structural deficits. JJBs must have a multidisciplinary team. JJBs should have a principal magistrate, 2 social workers for legal psychological balance. But many JJBs in India are not fully functional. Many are absent. Okay. Plus there are other issues, infrastructure gaps. 14 states lack mandated places of safety for children aged 16 to 18. Then there is lack of transparency as well. JJBs are legally required to inspect CCIs, child care committees, monthly, but only 810 inspections were conducted. Plus there are many other shortcomings which are mentioned in your notes. Okay, very easy. Just see those. Just take a look at those shortcomings. Many shortcomings. And because of these shortcomings, well, it has following negative consequences. Okay. First of all, justice delivery suffers, especially for children, and this hampers rights of children. Then child-centric rehabilitation, which was the purpose of Juvenile Justice Act, that suffers because maximum children, well, their cases are not being heard properly. Then fragmented and irregular data that comes. So data collection is a problem, which blinds the policymakers. They don't know what to do because they don't know what is the situation. And then there is urgent need to fill infrastructural inadequacies. Appoint more people, appoint more juvenile justice boards. This is important. Okay, so you get a basic clarity of juvenile justice system. That was the purpose of including this news item. All right then. Let's quickly shift our focus to next news item, and that is Bharat NCAP 2.0. Now listen to me very carefully. Many Indians die because of road accidents. Road accidents is one of the biggest killers in India. Therefore, car safety, road safety is of utmost importance for us all. Okay, is of utmost importance. Now, do you guys know this, that all the electrical appliances that you see, like a fan, AC, they have a star rating system. 3-star, 4-star, 5-star. That star rating system is for energy efficiency. So if there is a 5-star fan or AC, well, it is the most energy efficient. But if it's a 3-star, 2-star, well, it consumes a lot of electricity, right? You must have seen this star rating. What if there is a star rating for cars? And that star rating tells you about the safety of the car, safety provisions of the car. That would increase consumer awareness. People would be more conscious to buy 5-star safety cars. And that would also incentivize car manufacturers to bring in more safety features in their cars. Yes, so a similar star system for car safety was launched in 2023 called NCAP. Now, NCAP was launched in 2023. Now the government is thinking about upgrading NCAP from next year. And that is why we call it NCAP 2.0. So first we'll talk about what this NCAP is all about. And then we'll talk about the proposed changes, which will make it NCAP 2.0. Okay, so let's quickly talk about this. So Bharat NCAP 2.0. So what was in the news? So Ministry of Road Transport has released a revised draft of Bharat New Car Assessment Program, NCAP. Bharat NCAP for assessment of crash safety performance of cars. NCAP was introduced by Ministry of Road Transport in October 2023. Okay. Now about NCAP. So it provides voluntary crash safety ratings for cars based on crash worthiness beyond basic road worthiness. So star rating system. Okay. Scores range from 1 to 5 stars based on vehicle safety performance under controlled crash tests. So before you sell the car, you make the car undergo various crash tests and see how the car performs. And based on that, you give it a star rating. You understand? It is aimed at India-specific safety standards to drive technological adoption in vehicle safety. So more and more car manufacturers in India adopt vehicle safety technologies in their cars. And those vehicle safety technologies are built for Indian roads, the way Indian system works. Okay. Central Institute of Road Transport Pune is the designated agency to issue ratings. So this CIRT issues ratings to cars. Okay. Now, what are the key changes in this NCAP 2.0 version? So, expanded assessment from 3 verticals. Earlier, car safety was checked on these 3 verticals. Adult occupant protection, the adult who is occupying the vehicle in a crash, whether he or she is safe. Child occupant protection, whether children in a car during a crash, whether they are safe. And safety assist technologies, the different assist technologies that are used in cars, airbags and all. Now, in 2.0 version, you will use 2 more. Okay, instead of 3 verticals, now you will have 5. Safe driving, accident avoidance, crash protection, vulnerable road user protection, post-crash safety. Whether after a crash, when your car is on fire, the doors unlock quickly or not, all these things. Mandatory crash tests increase from 3 to 5. Now, every car should undergo these 5 crash tests before they are released in the market. Plus, there are changes in the star rating system also. What changes? Higher cutoffs for 4-star or 5-star rating. First, you had to take 60 points for 4-star and 70 points minimum for 5-star. Now it's 65 and 80. Vehicles must score at least 55% in adult occupant protection vertical to qualify for 3 stars, and many other changes are made. Plus, there are many other changes which are also mentioned in your notes. Just give a brief reading to that. No need to remember them by heart. Just give a reading. What changes are made. That's about it. What is important for you to retain in your memory is what is this NCAP system? Okay, who gives these star ratings and who released this system? Ministry of Road. Okay, that's about it. All right, now let's quickly shift our focus to science and technology related news item, and that is, well, Saturn's rings. Okay, now here is the thing. Well, the only planet that, well, many planets have rings, okay, rings of rocks around it, but Saturn's rings are the most magnificent, okay, and they are visible from long distances also. Now, when viewed from Earth, Saturn is the only planet whose rings are distinctly visible. But starting this November, Saturn's rings are going to disappear temporarily, and then they are going to reappear. Now, are these rings vanishing in space and then coming back? No. The way Saturn is aligned with Earth, well, that is changing. So Saturn will align in the month of November in such a way that these rings would appear, they would appear that they have disappeared. Okay, that appearance would be that the rings have vanished. So it is just an optical illusion. But let's talk about Saturn's rings. How did they evolve? How did they come about? All these things, which is important information. Okay, so let's begin. Saturn's rings. So in the news, the rings of Saturn, among the most majestic sights in the solar system, will appear to vanish. Appear to vanish. It's just an optical illusion, remember. They won't actually vanish. Briefly, from Earth's viewpoint in November 2025, the disappearance is an optical illusion caused by orientation of Saturn's rings relative to Earth. So here, take a look. In normal times, when you view Saturn from a telescope on Earth, it appears like this. Sometimes it appears like this. The ring is visible. But sometimes Saturn is aligned in such a way that the ring becomes extremely thin, and then it disappears for a moment. This is an optical illusion, which lasts for a month only. Clear? Simple? That's about it. But let's talk about Saturn's rings. First, this is the optical illusion, facts related to optical illusion. Saturn is tilted at 26.73 degrees and it takes about 29.4 Earth years to orbit the Sun. So if it takes Earth 1 year to orbit the Sun, Saturn takes 29.4 years. Every 13-15 years, the edge of the very thin ring aligns with the edge of Earth, drastically reducing visibly reflected light and making the rings disappear. This is just a temporary phenomenon. Okay. Now about Saturn's rings. The rings consist of billions of ice and rock chunks ranging from dust grains to mountain-sized objects. Okay. Now, when you ask scientists, how did these rings appear? What happened? How did these this ring system originate? So scientists have a theory. They say that once upon a time, Saturn had 2 very big icy moons. Those moons collided. When those moons collided, well, small rocks came about. Now they were trapped by Saturn's gravity, and these small rocks started spinning around the planet. So the origin of Saturn's rings is the collision of two icy moons. That's the prevailing consensus. Okay. Now, yes, one very important thing. Okay. Will Saturn always have these rings? It is believed that there will come a time after millions of years that Saturn's rings would completely vanish. Okay. Rings are not permanent. They are slowly falling into Saturn due to gravitational and magnetic forces called ring rain. So if you're sitting on Saturn, these objects are falling on Saturn. This is known as ring rain. NASA estimates that ring material equivalent to an Olympic-sized swimming pool falls onto Saturn every hour. At this rate, the rings will disappear entirely in about 300 million years. So until 300 million years, Saturn will have its rings. Okay. And the proof of this fact that rings are temporary is, well, Jupiter had rings at one point of time. Uranus had rings at one point of time. Neptune had rings at one point of time. They no longer have rings. Okay. So Saturn will, at one point of time, will no longer have rings. By the way, one thing, well, all these planets in our solar system can be divided into two parts. Planets on this side are called terrestrial planets, and planets on this side are called Jovian planets or gas giants. Okay, rings are generally found on gas giants. Just remember this. There are a few facts about terrestrial and Jovian planets. They're given in your notes, so do check that out. All right, and now let's quickly talk about the last news item of the day, and that is moss spores survive in space. Generally, it is believed that space, the environment in outer space, is pretty hostile for living organisms. Okay, life cannot survive in outer space. But recently, scientists have shown that moss, a particular type of plant, grassy plant that grows on rocks, it can survive in outer space. Okay, scientists checked that when they took moss spores to International Space Station and they checked whether it can survive over there or not. It survived. Now, this is really good news because, well, if scientists are thinking about repopulating Mars, Mars lacks oxygen, but plants produce oxygen through photosynthesis. So maybe they'll grow moss on Mars and, well, increase oxygen levels in Mars. And various other applications can come out if this study is actually true. So let's talk about this study. Okay, moss spores survive in space. So a team of scientists has found that moss can survive a prolonged trip to space. As part of the study, a handful of moss spores survived 9 months exposed to low orbit conditions, with 80% of them still able to reproduce once they were brought back to Earth. So no permanent damage. What is moss? A small plant usually found in damp, shady spots is already known for its resilience on Earth. Moss is one such plant that can survive on Antarctica. In fact, it can survive in volcanic eruptions also. So it's a pretty resilient plant. That is why scientists took it to space to check whether it can also survive in space. And it did. Okay, so let's gather some more details. Scientists exposed 20,000 moss spores outside International Space Station. The spores endured extreme space conditions for 283 days. Upon return to Earth, 80% survived. Almost 90% survivors reproduced also. Okay, chlorophyll levels were mostly stable, with only 20% drop in chlorophyll and not affecting overall health. So this is good news. We can create substations on Moon also, and we can generate oxygen by growing colonies of these moss plants. Okay, spores have multi-layered walls that provide them with this protection. That's why they survive in hostile environments. Moss spores. Okay, now this study has various significance for our interplanetary mission, for increasing oxygen levels in other planets, moon, space stations. So all the benefits of this experiment are given in your notes. Do check that out as well. All right. And that would be all. With that, we conclude today's session. So thank you so much for watching, everyone. And I'm sure it has added value to your preparation. But it will add more value if you're consistent and regular with this lecture, plus you revise it from the notes. So please do not forget to do that. And I shall see you next time with another set of news items. Thank you, everyone.